Well, the life in the Gurukula was, in some ways, hard. You know, physically there was a lot of hardships, and somehow I didn't have. I was lucky I didn't have that kind of sexual abuse that some of the kids had. Yeah, I was in Dallas from 72 to 76 and 76 to 80 in India. Those were really, 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 in a way, very nice times because ISKCON wasn't so big yet. Prabhupada used to come to visit. Raman Reti Park was just very empty, quiet, romantic, and yeah, it was nice. I feel really in Dallas, there was a lot of caring people who really tried to protect and do well to the children. It kind of fell apart when they took us to India. For me, a really, really exciting time of the year was always when the summer would end, and then the rain would come, and then Janmashtami would come, and then all the pilgrims would be coming by hundreds of thousands to the temple and feasts, and you know, like just exciting. You know, it's interesting you're interviewing me on all this because it helps me remember it all, and it's quite, everything's quite emotional for me. It's amazing how life is such a growing experience. I mean, you can see it when you have children, how much suffering they have to go through. I basically think that spiritual life is, as material life, always an individual journey. You can't necessarily standardize the path towards anything. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Yeah, it's kind of special because, in a sense, because the life we had was so different than the life I have today, I've already experienced reincarnation one time in this lifetime. Life is the purpose of life. You know, if you're not satisfied with something nice already or something great, and you're trying to find the greatness behind the great, you'll never get there because you'll always be looking for the next step. What's behind that and what's that good for? Maybe it's not that complicated. We wouldn't even be here if nature didn't want us to be here. So why are we worrying? She gave us life to start with. Why don't we trust that that power should keep us alive? If we begin to see, hear, smell, and feel the things that are there, and simply be more observant, we begin to have more peace. So looking back at my own childhood, you know, there's like a little bit of compassion. It's not pity, it's compassion for that person that had to go through all that pain, you know. Well, I remember being in the San Francisco temple, and you know how the women and the men used to dance separately? Somebody came up to me, I think it was one of the other kids, and said, "Hey, your mom's here." But I didn't remember exactly how my mother looked because I hadn't seen her in so long. And then at the same time I was like afraid because you weren't supposed to look at the woman. I just remember a really unfortunate incident that I was involved in, which I actually regret in my whole life, is one time there was one kid. I was a little bit of an older boy sometimes, so I used to have a few kids who I used to kind of take care of, you know. And there was one kid, his name was Ganga. He stole money from the temple, the altar, right? And he got caught doing it, and then he got yelled at, and then he said, "Oh, Lila Sebastian told me to do it." And I don't know. I said, they called me in and they said, "Did you do that?" And I said no, and then they kind of
said to me, you could punish him for it, and I always feel really bad because I hate him a lot for that. But it was like also I think the authorities kind of like pushed me a little bit to do it. They kind of let me do the dirty work, And that's a sad story. I had physical abuse in terms of getting hit and things, but I was a tough kid. I didn't let it get me. It didn't bother me I don't think it bothered me emotionally. I've never come to the idea that it's traumatized me emotionally. One of my main complaints is that I feel that they really didn't care for us, like in terms of nourishment or education. They didn't have their heart there. They were more interested in building marble temples, really, than investing in the future. I think that's where ISKCON really went off, that they didn't invest. They invested more in buildings than they invested in people. I mean, even Danudar, he also did like psychological shit to me, But I see the greatest neglect is in health and in terms of guiding someone thinking of their future. I mean, basically when I came back to France, I was useless. Nobody knew what to do with me. I was like this 16, 17-year-old. I mean, it was like, the only idea they ever had is, well, maybe we can send them out and sell some books or something, That's not a project. That's nothing. That's just, And I mean, on top of it, you have to be honest, they also used, the parents as manpower in the meantime, It's like they separated you, then they had the parents free, so that, my father, he collected, I guess, for 10 years straight, he went out and sold books. I was put out into the world to fight with no weapons, basically. Yeah. They say, go fight, but we'll break your arms before you go. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Basically what happened is I got very ill when I was in India, and they had put me in the hospital and I was only being fed intravenously. I had written my father a letter beforehand that I was ill, but you weren't allowed to send letters out. He had a friend in Germany, and she gave him the money to buy me a ticket and him a ticket to India and back.
We like to complain that the opposite sex creates a lot of suffering and havoc in our lives. Another way of looking at it is seeing that it's all opportunities and situations where the weaknesses you have are mirrored back at you. Women have been my greatest challenges, but my greatest teachers at the same time. Even in the scriptures and in the Vedas, sexuality is a theme, even in the conjugal love of Krishna, and many temples have forms of different demigods performing sex on the walls. So it's not something that needs to be swept under the carpet, but to be openly, just regularly dealt with like anything else we have in life. Well, I was fortunate enough to have experienced, I think, a healthy sex life. I experienced a lot of women who are so really, really beautiful and nice to me. I've also experienced a lot of women with a lot of anger and disappointment in them. So I really don't know right now where I stand.
A lot of people ask me, do you regret being in Gurukula? My answer is really, it's not something I can regret, because it's part of my life. It's not like I have a choice. It's just the way it is. I torture myself a lot with the art when I do it. It's not like I
Some people have the fantasy of an artist, he goes to the studio and he just loves what he's doing. I have a love-hate relationship with my work, to be honest. One of the things about art is that it's a constant, search for perfection. Yeah, it's a funny thing, like, what's the use of all this? What's the use of anything? It's all going to disappear. It's all going to fall apart in a couple of thousand years. I guess, if we do it with love, if we can develop a love to whatever we're doing, that can't fall apart ever.
I just read a quote from Da Vinci the other day, that a piece of art is never finished, it's only abandoned at some point. That search and that strive for perfection never ends. You can keep going and keep working on it and you'll never get there. It's actually a little bit like self-realization. You're trying to find yourself and realize yourself. But once you finally find yourself and realize yourself, you've already changed again. So it's a never-ending search.
And these two people, this man and this woman that I put in here as a married couple, are what they have in Switzerland on the toilets to show this is a woman's toilet and this is a man's toilet. Nice. The idea was that it might be a golden cage, but it's a cage.
I tried to dissolve some of the organic in the geometric and some of the geometric in the organic.
It's natural to have a conflict with your father or with your guru. Yeah. It's a very natural thing, and it's a healthy thing. And anybody who blindly or denies that there is conflict is not speaking the truth. Yeah. He's not in touch with his inner self. Well, the guru I was presented with or who influenced my life was Prabhupada. I think I've committed to chanting every day now. There's a few different reasons I hadn't been chanting. I thought chanting was about, adoring the Lord, and I thought it was not legitimate to chant just because it helps me. So I thought, oh, that wouldn't be a good reason to chant. I won't chant if it's just for me. But I realized yesterday it's probably just a very practical tool in the beginning to chant, to deal with the mind. And I guess Prabhupada asked us to chant because he knew it's good for us. He wasn't trying to make us chant because he wanted us to believe something. If I was dying and I had some serious things I wanted to give to someone who I loved, my child, for example, I would ask her to promise me to do it, but not, like in the sense of if you don't do it, you'll be punished. It's not a rule. It's something someone asked me to promise them to do out of love. My relationship to the holy name, every time I think of chanting, I think of that one verse from Lord Chaitanya where he says, I have no attraction to chanting. It's kind of like sand on my tongue, like I got a mouthful of sand when I try to, but I'm slowly, turning 50 or 51, it's beginning to get a little attraction. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.